Welcome everybody to the Image and Wire show. My name is Jake Fishman. I'm the host of the show and the editor of the Image and Wire. And today with us, we have Brian Murphy from GE Healthcare. Brian is the GM and Vice President of the MRI group over at GE and has a really interesting history within medical imaging and in healthcare overall. And every time I talk to him, I learn a ton, and I can't wait to share all of those insights that Brian has with all of you. So without further ado, welcome Brian to the show.
Thank you, Jake.
Pleasure to be here. It's good to have you here, buddy. So I just said you had this long history, and it's not that long. You're still a young guy, but I got
a ways to go. Yeah,
sure. Exactly. But maybe you can just share a little bit about maybe what you do now over at GE and kind of how you got there.
Sure. So I lead the MR business in the United States and Canada for GE Healthcare. As far as how I got here, it's been through a variety of progressively responsible positions. Recently moved to Milwaukee, been here for several years. But really, I think it started because originally, when I've been with GE twice, originally started as an MR specialist. So 15, 20 years ago, really closer to 20 years ago, I cut my teeth in sales and commercial with regards to MRI. So from there, moved up through a variety of different management positions. And as I moved through those progressively responsible positions, naturally the MR division within GE is a prominent business for us, and I was asked to lead it. So I'm privileged and honored to lead this group, this team.
Yeah, absolutely. Congratulations, and there's you guys are doing great work. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
And I understand. So in addition to being your second time at GE, this is kind of your second time being focused on MR, and in 15 years, there's quite a lot of evolution that's happened over that time. Maybe you can share a little bit about kind of the evolutions that have happened in some areas where the technology is kind of still catching up with the needs of the clinicians and the technicians or technologists.
Certainly, yeah, because a lot has changed. It's kind of fun to watch, and sometimes what's even more fun is when I interact with folks that have been in the business and been focused on MR that haven't really left per se, like I did, that have been doing it for 25 and 30 years. It's really intriguing to kind of hear from them about the progression of the technology, progression of MRI, and innovation that goes along with it. So with my experience, when I came in, 3T was still kind of new. It was something that while it was acquired, you had to acquire it and use it carefully, I think, when you were installing it in different facilities. Upgrades were just kind of getting off the ground. We were just starting to move into a multi-channel kind of dimension, if you will, in an effort to really enhance image quality, make things better for patients. So if you really the early 2000s, if you will, is when I was running around. And compare that to now, it's a remarkable change. It's been fascinating to basically hit the pause button and come back into the business and really see what tremendous innovations have been made in this business. It's remarkable.
That's awesome. And actually, I'm going to be the host who talks about himself. So one of my best friends from growing up, but still today, actually is a MRI service tech for GE Healthcare.
Oh, wow.
So, hey, Chuck, miss you, buddy.
Hi, Chuck.
And this summer we were hanging out in the backyard. I went back to visit my folks, and he actually was telling me about how great AIR Recon DL is, and essentially how much everybody loves it, and how it kind of addresses some of those concerns or kind of evolution challenges that you've been talking about. Maybe you can share a little bit about AIR Recon DL and how it does that.
Sure. So when you look at the past, it's important, I think, to really kind of frame the way MR has been approached. Oftentimes, at least when I was trained early on, it's all about signal, and there was always a saying about your signal is your currency, and you get to choose how you spend that currency. Mm-hmm. And some customers, radiologists, technologists would spend it for higher image quality, for resolution, and others would spend it for speed. But you can never have both, ever. There was always that compromise, and it was that balance between speed and resolution that, frankly, has been really ingrained in anyone that's been working in MR for any period of time. And along comes AIR Recon DL, and it totally changes the game. It's it's just a really transformative technology that finally really enables the capability to increase and drive image quality while also decreasing scan times. And it's something that, frankly, in some instances, it's unbelievable. Customers that radiologists, technologists, administrators that have been in MR, it's sometimes they need to see it to believe it because they don't. Because of that, it's like the central dogma of MRI has been, you get one or the other, you never get both. And GE has changed that.
What's the type of kind of healthcare setting or organization or MRI user who would typically use AIR Recon DL?
Really everybody. So that's what's fun about this. When you think about the different personas that engage with MRI, I see it as there's a multitude of them, probably 4, right? So you have your administrator, your healthcare executives that are responsible for acquiring and making the capital expenditures perhaps to acquire this technology. You're the radiologist, clearly important, the technologists, the operators that run it, and then most importantly, perhaps the patients. And the interaction or the perception of this technology can be a little different depending upon who you're interacting with, but it's applicable to all of them. So for the executive and really the radiologist as well, there's many radiologist executives in a variety of different places. The ability to scan fast and get more patients through in this environment basically has a massive impact to your bottom line from an ROI perspective. Additionally, and perhaps more importantly, the patient satisfaction scores are skyrocketing because of the deployment of this technology.
Yeah.
For radiologists, all those things still apply, but there's a variety of other benefits. There are reports that it's easier to read, it's less straining on the eyes, but more importantly, their ability to serve these patients and to do their best work. They're not reading through artifacts. So AIR Recon DL essentially elevates the image quality and eliminates noise. And when it eliminates that noise, it makes their job easier for them to focus on the pathology and do what they do best, which is gleaning clinical insights and taking care of that patient. So it makes it easier for them. For the technologist, a bit different there too. These are the folks that are working at the console, they're moving the patient. So what you don't hear too much about is when they're trying to get that scan, they take a lot of pride in their work and it makes it easier for them to do that. But what people don't talk about often is all the rescans, the efficacy of current MR technology, and how they valiantly fight through a variety of issues to produce the best image quality so that radiologists can do their good work. It eliminates some of those issues to make their jobs easier. And then, of course, the patient. The reports are astounding. Patients that I just recently had an MR exam. It was on an aged system, and it was 30, 40-minute exam. AIR Recon DL, forget that. It's going to be half that time. And that can have a profound impact on the patients, particularly if they're not well. And there's many, many reports about that.
Awesome. So you talk a little bit about this kind of see it to believe it initial conversation, and that's I'm sure they have some questions kind of leading up to that seeing it point. What are the for these different kind of stakeholder parties, what are they trying to understand? What are their kind of concerns or hopes that this technology can do?
Well, initially, I think that customers that deploy this, it's important to mention that oftentimes when you deploy this technology, many people assume that it's only on the top tier of a technology. Yeah. And GE made a very wise decision to ensure it was applied in a ubiquitous manner across the entire portfolio. So it doesn't matter if you have an old system or a new system, you can get AIR Recon DL. So that's critically important. Once you get it, what they're worried about for those that haven't been exposed to it is, are they missing something? Because it's AI. So what this is, it's a deep learning convolutional neural network. And there's going to be physicians, and rightly so, that may not trust it at first because it's new.
Right. So
what's critically important for them to know is that it's as easy as simply turning it on. So the technology, literally just turn it on, and you'll see these beautiful images. But what's important in the beginning, and we've seen this with our early adopters and some of the research partners that helped us develop this technology and bring it forward, while they turned it on, it keeps the conventional scan as well as the AIR Recon DL scan. Many of our customers did basically like almost double-blind studies to prove to themselves that it was in fact better. It is in fact leading to better outcomes for patients. And what I'm finding is that after a short period of time, the radiologist trust and confidence in the technology is so high that they turn off the double study. They just move forward with AIR Recon DL. So they have the capability for those that are concerned. They have the ability to turn it on and kind of essentially test it out both ways.
Yeah.
And what they'll find is after about a week or so, they'll probably move forward with just AIR Recon DL.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. And I'm glad that you brought up the AI part, because obviously, like, that's what makes it happen. And also, as you said, it can be kind of a loaded term. Maybe just to drill a little bit deeper down into that, like, I guess, how much of the conversation when you talk with them is about the technology, and how much is it just the outcomes, and where do they really want to understand kind of how it works?
Thankfully, there's been many installations, so we're well into the hundreds of installations.
Wow.
So for a customer that's looking for it today, they can have confidence that many of their peers have done some of the heavy lifting for them.
Yeah.
And I think that many of them will find solace in the fact that that's been done. Furthermore, there's a variety of peer-reviewed literature. So as far as the technology and what's behind it, white papers, peer-reviewed literature in a variety of journals for their consumption to allay any concerns with regards to how it works, what it does from an AI perspective. And that can be certainly provided by our company. So really the conversation often shifts to, how do I deploy it?
Mhm.
How will this affect my practice? What actions do I need to take? Things of that nature. So I find that most of our time is spent on those conversations. And these radiologists, they've been leading into the AI space for quite a while. There's a video on YouTube. It was Dr. Stenowin from Houston Medical Imaging, and he was getting a presentation. He said, in the 45-minute presentation from someone like me, he said within a few minutes, he knew exactly what this was and knew it would work. So these are very smart, very capable people. And immediately he was working towards, how do I deploy this? How can this positively affect us? And most importantly, the patients. He has some wonderful stories on how there are patients not that they either haven't been able to scan before,
Mhm.
or get done in a more efficient manner with better results. And it's been tremendous for them.
That's awesome. And it's really impressive that there's 100 units out there using this today. And you're probably learning a lot about kind of how they're using that currency, whether it's kind of speed of scan or resolution. Or do you see kind of trends in terms of how it's being applied?
In many respects, yes. So with the currency, that's what's funny, that central dogma I referenced, where they either get resolution or scan speed.
Yeah.
They're getting both in
Okay.
virtually every instance. So the way I see it being applied is there's three different levels. Essentially high, medium, low. It's made very simple for the user. In fact, there's been some references on some of the interactions we've had where if there's a technologist has a question about it, just turn it on. Just turn it on and enjoy the signal. And when they see that image, it's going to pop. It's going to be beautiful. What essentially it's doing there, it's reducing that image noise. It's eliminating and it's recognizing and mitigating those artifacts that are traditionally seen in conventional MR.
Mm-hmm.
So now from there, what they're doing is you can optimize the protocol. And when you optimize that, you're basically looking to, you're encouraged to use higher matrices. You're basically getting a better resolution. And with the better resolution, it's incredible, but because of the fact that you have less noise, you can go faster and the images are gorgeous. So really it's going to significantly improve the patient experience and the experience for everyone involved.
That's awesome. Okay. So early, when we were talking before, you mentioned that you're a Jets fan, right? So yeah. If AIR Recon DL was one of the members from the Jets Hall of Fame, who would be the player who would most represent this product?
So there's a pretty thin list, unfortunately, because I know you're a Patriots fan. So
Yeah.
So my list is a lot shorter than other people's lists. But AIR Recon DL, that's Broadway Joe. It's got to be because he had a lot of moxie. He was a tremendous player, and of course the infamous guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
So perhaps we should have a similar kind of theme with AIR Recon DL. If you use AIR Recon DL, you get AIR Recon DL. You can guarantee that your patients will be happier, your radiologists will be impressed, your technologists and your staff will be thrilled, and you'll scan more patients and you'll do better work. So
fantastic. I've never been so excited about at Jet's analogy in my life. And folks, that was a unplanned. I threw that as a curveball. So
Yeah,
hats off to Brian for handling that one. We would have accepted Wayne Corbett and Curtis Martin, and that's it.
Curtis Martin's awesome too.
Yeah, also a Patriot. Cool. So when we look forward, both on the imagery construction side and just all of the MR advancements being made, how do you see kind of the experience of a MR user or a radiologist who's using images from MR, 2-5 years in the future? What are the kind of experiences and expectations?
So I think this is just the beginning. And it's important to note that in many respects, we're probably on our second iteration of AIR Recon DL already. Yeah. So to a lot of people, it's new. It was FDA approved back in I want to say May of 2020. It was the first version. Second iteration came out, and there's more behind it. So the future is very bright. You should expect continued innovation from GE Healthcare in this space. So as far as how they'll use it, what their experience will be like, there was a joke on a webinar. Dr. Tannenbaum was asked, "Well, what's it used best on? Which anatomy is the best?" And he said, "Human anatomy." It's you can literally apply it everywhere all the time. So the fact that it's just it can be so broadly applied and can be so helpful to physicians and their patients. This is just the beginning. I think that there's a tremendous amount of future, innovation that's coming in the coming years. In fact, we expect some near-term announcements as well.
Cool. Well, I'm looking forward to those. If you have any parting thoughts for the audience, please have at it. And otherwise, it's wonderful talking and hanging out with you, Brian.
Thank you for the time, Jake. I really appreciate it. This is a really unique time in MR. There are many people, I reference those people that have been around MR for 30 years plus, people that scanned back in the 80s when MR was just coming out. And I had asked, because naturally I started later, I said, is this the most impressive thing you've seen since like phased array coils or multi-channel type of work? And they corrected me and said, Brian, this is the most revolutionary tool in MR, period. In fact, some would say it's the most revolutionary tool in clinical diagnostic imaging. So AIR Recon DL has just gained a tremendous amount of applause from the people that have used it. And for those that are watching this, I invite you to, reach out. Please reach out to me. We'd love to chat with you about how this could be deployed in your practice as well.
Well, there you have it. We have a revolution on our hands, and Brian's the guy to talk to you about it. So everybody, please do reach out to Brian. You can take his word for it. You can take my buddy Chuck's word for it. People truly do love this product, and I've loved talking with you today, Brian. So thank you very much, and thank you everybody for joining us. And have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, Jake. Take care.